Hi, welcome back to Mom and Co. And we are on episode 3. And on episode 2, I talked about what Sully said to me to actually make me go inwards. And what he asked me was, what would you do without me? And I went on this journey and I took the lonely road, and it was a beautiful one. Sounds scary, and it was at first, but I think I was more scared of losing the love of my life than to go on this lonely road. So I have Sully here with me today, and we are live in Cabo. And so since we really didn't want to be outside, we decided we're going to film. So here we are. Anyway, Sully,
Yes.
when you asked me back in the end of 2022, what would you do without me? What did you mean?
Man, that's such a loaded question because there's so much meaning behind that question that I was asking to you. I think that I was in a period of my life, a season of my life that had me questioning a lot of things in general, not just life, because that's something that I generally do on a daily basis. But I stopped drinking alcohol that year, and actually the year before.
No, it was that year.
It was
The
that
beginning of the year.
That's right. I quit drinking. I think
During spring break when we went.
Well, I think because I started having the heart palpitation things, right? Like I started having that PVC. So then I started thinking that, man, I could potentially die. Like I was kind of fearful of just dying, right?
Well, I think hold on, let me go back a little bit too. But so in spring break in Minneapolis with the kids, you had not had the heart palpitations yet. That was when you decided to stop drinking because you had a public outburst at the Mall of America.
Well, it wasn't an outburst.
Well,
I got drunk. Yeah,
You
like,
got that.
really
I guess
drunk.
that's an outburst.
Yeah.
Because
No, an outburst is when you're like, you're making a scene. There was no.
There was a scene because the kids are traumatized by it. If you ask them about it, they remember what you said and what you did. To me, that's a public outburst. And I remember when that all happened, I was really, really quiet. And we had friends with us, and they were really helping you. All I knew what to do was to get the kids and get you into the hotel to check in safely. And you were not coherent to even be with the kids for a little bit. That even a security guard came by to ask questions, and while I was going in to check in. So that was, to me, that was an outburst. I think an outcry for help. And I myself didn't even know how to handle it. I just knew that I needed, if I even said anything, it would just get worse. And so for me, I just kept quiet. I was like, let's get him going back into the hotel. And then the next morning, you guys went to the NBA game. And then we just kind of like never really talked about it. And then from that day on, you just never.
Well, it didn't happen like that. I mean, okay, that's how your perception was. And that's okay. I'm okay with your perception in regards to how you seen that as. I didn't see it that way. What really changed me in the moment was when I looked at myself at, 2 a.m. in the morning when I was still hungover because I fell asleep at 4 p.m. that same night. And when I woke up at that time, hacking my brains out, I looked at myself in the mirror and was like, you can no longer continue doing this. This is dumb, like you're going to die, right? Like literally you keep drinking, you keep doing these things that are going to cause you inflict more pain and suffering to yourself. And that at that moment is when I looked at myself in the mirror and was like, hey, you're not going to go down this fucking road. You're not going to continue doing this to yourself. And then at the same time, do this to your family. Yes, was I stressed? I mean, I carry a stressful life in general, because I carry a lot of weight of everybody else. So I think that was the beginning of my transformation of this next life. People call this a midlife crisis. People call this whatever you want to call it. I called it, for me, was just an opportunity for me to change some of the things that I was doing into my life that was going to allow me to live a better life for myself, right? Yep. On a physical level, on a mental level, on a spiritual level. These were the things that when I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And it started with not drinking. So I remember when I took the kids, I was like, I'm not drinking. I feel so much better. I remember how much better I felt. I was able to recall that. And even till this day, when I feel like I don't need a drink, and if I do decide to drink, it's not affecting me in that way. It's no longer
controlling
it's
you.
no longer a social thing. It's like, hey, if I want to have a drink to drink, then I will have a drink. If I don't, then I say no, and I'm not afraid of anybody saying, hey, whatever, you're weak, you're soft, or whatever, all those things that when you're growing up as a man, because really I didn't drink even until I got to college, because I was as an athlete in high school, so drinking was just not something I even done. And plus, I'm a lightweight, y'all. So like literally
Since
one or two drinks, I'm done.
Since I met you, you've always been a lightweight, but I couldn't seem to get you to not repeat it. And that's why I always ask you questions like, if you didn't drink, what made you drink? And I think we can even go into that a little bit about when you lost your mom.
I don't want to get into depth into it, because
you don't have to get into depth, but that is the reason.
I think why I started drinking because clearly my mom had passed when I was younger, 20 years old. It's before I was legal to drink. And then when she passed, I continued. I think that's when I started drinking, binge drinking. Yes. I would take a bunch of shots. I would, and it just was uncontrollable.
It was the early 2000s.
Yeah,
if you
so
know,
it was
you know.
It was nonstop. So I was in a period of my life that, there's a lot of pain that I had losing my mom at that age, and not really knowing how to navigate in certain ways, because she was a compass for me in a lot of different ways, and a lot of it was morally too. My mom her moral compass was probably one of the greatest compasses that I've ever encountered, and she's always given me the best sound advice, living through life, and that's what I can recall on as I continue to live my life that I live now. So, but and it's so crazy because once Sully stopped drinking, we still attend social events, because Sully and I are big in the community where we show up for birthdays, graduations, weddings, and most of these events are filled with alcohol. And I remember going to these events, and I would ask you okay? Like, do you want to leave early? And at first, when would get there, you'd always grab a drink. And there was one day when you grabbed a ginger ale, and when I saw Canada Dry, I was like, oh my God, Sully, my dad. I said, as a little girl, I never saw my dad drink. But there were adults that would remind me, like, your dad used to drink. And now that I've gone through this with you, what I saw was this shame that my dad had. Like, he couldn't even look at me. And at the time when I was a kid, I didn't understand it. But now that I'm here today, I can look back and say that my dad felt embarrassed in front of me because someone brought something up that I never saw, right? That version of him. And when I saw you drink that, it made me think about my dad. That's all he ever drank. He always had a Canada Dry in his hand. And everyone around us all drank, like the men did. And I would ask my dad, like, how come you're not drinking? And he just starts laughing and he smiled, but he wouldn't say anything because my dad was a man of little words. And so it dawned on me in that very moment when I saw you do it, I realized that my dad was a recovering alcoholic. But again, when you hear that, because my mom would tell me stories, but like if I didn't experience it, it's hard for me to comprehend what my mom is telling me. And so this entire experience actually led me back to my dad, to better understand him, because when he was alive, I felt like he was perfect. That's how I saw my dad. But when he passed away in 2017, I remember when I had to write his eulogy, I thought to myself, oh man, he was a great man. He only did great things. But now at that time, I'm already realizing that no one's perfect. And so I was like, wait, I don't know my dad's whole story. I only know the story in America. What was he like when he was in Cambodia? I want to know that part. And
at the time he passed away, I didn't know how to find that answer. So since he passed, I remember you also telling me, I remember vividly sitting on my bed and everyone was coming to the house and I was like, can you shut the door? I'm like so overstimulated, overwhelmed, and I couldn't even like host anybody. And then you said, you know, you hugged me and you were like, this is going to change you. And I didn't know what you were talking about. I just thought change as in like, I'm going to miss my dad. I'm going to whatever, just very surface level. I didn't realize the depth of what you meant. But now, again, looking back, I can see that from your life experience of losing your mom, that changed you. And we never really discussed it or talked about it. So like I didn't know what you were talking about at the time. And so, but I think, again, as men, I'm starting to realize you guys go through this emotional journey by yourself. And you don't really talk out loud. And whereas us females, we're over here telling our problems to another person because it feels better inside once we release it. Men just don't do that.
Because women talk a lot. But y'all do good.
Good things, right?
Yeah. Good things. Good things.
But yeah, so a lot of our experience together has led me back to past experience of our families and ourselves. And that's kind of what the lonely road for me was that I was finally able to hear myself and feel so much deeper. I think after every hardship in our lives, I just kind of kept going and didn't really process what I just went through. And so this heavy question that you asked me allowed me to stop and pause to really reflect on, okay, what does he mean by this? And if he's going to tell me to whatever the F you think, Paul, man, I didn't know a whole lot at that point. So it was like at that moment, it was like, I just need to go. I don't know what it is.
Well, I think that's obvious. I mean, that was part of the reason why I asked that, because the thing is that if you don't come up with your own understanding of what you are doing or why you're doing something, you didn't need me to tell you why I was asking that question.
No, but
you needed to figure out what it was on why I was asking that question. What were you going to do about it? How are you going to try to figure it out? Not, hey, I'm asking you this question, let me give you the answer.
Well, and this whole journey too led me back to my childhood. It led me back to how I was raised, and it reminded me of how my family has brought us all up is so communal, and so every decision was being told by an adult, and for me, it was like I was waiting for this adult to tell me what he meant by it. But at this point, like I knew, like your energy was like, girl, you're on your own this time. And it was like, okay, I put my big girl pants on and go. And that's what I did. And so even coming to Cabo on the airplane, I was just crying. I had my earbuds on, just crying. Sully's just right next to me. And then
this happens often.
So I had this immense sense of gratitude that I could not shake up, because it brought me back to this other moment in time when in 2008, so we got married in 2006, we never went on a honeymoon. And in 2008, in February, we lost our daughter, Penelope. And I was feeling so many things and I couldn't figure it out. And so I told Sully, and our relationship was like suffering. And so I said to Sully, it's because we haven't gone on a honeymoon. And you're like, okay.
They ain't fixing shit. Unless that honeymoon is gonna give you a new outlook in life or give you, $1 million, then.
So let's go back to that story. We went to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It was our first time in Mexico. And we were like, in my mind, I was like, oh, this is going to, whatever this feeling that I'm feeling, I don't know why I feel this way, but it's going to fix everything. We went in May. So I lost Penelope in February, went in May. And we get there, I was in the room crying a lot. Sully was out at the pool. He had to make new friends because the person he came with couldn't handle being out there. And so instantly when I got there, I knew like this was not going to cure whatever this feeling that I'm having, but I didn't even understand what I was going through. I didn't understand that I was actually very sad and very depressed that I just lost a daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for this guy to fix it for me. And he couldn't. And he brought me to this. I thought it was going to be like, we get to Mexico, I'm going to feel much better. So, you know, as Sully, like I look back at our relationship in general, he was always kind of like, what do you want to do? Like he fulfilled everything. So I've always felt like he knew the answers and he could help me fix all these things that I'm feeling. But I couldn't even explain to him how I felt because when we lost Penelope, I had family members and friends that were pregnant at the same time. And we were all due around the same time. And I just thought to myself, well, I don't want them to feel like they can't come around me now that I don't have a baby and I'm no longer pregnant. That was a very lonely feeling that I had, but I felt like I needed to make sure everyone else was okay because I need to be okay. And then this summer, I spoke with my cousin that happened to have a daughter too that was, you know, due around the same time. And she openly opened up to me about how scared she was. And she felt really bad for me. And she didn't know like if I was going to be sad and upset that they're still expecting and having this baby. And so for me, I did this thing where I told myself, when these girls are born, because I had well, now it's a neighbor, a niece, and a cousin, and they're all people I'm really close to. What I said to myself was, when their daughters are grown, or just even born, that they're going to remind me of Penelope, and I am going to love them as much as if Penelope was here. And that was a promise I made to myself that I never said out loud. And it's crazy because now they are 17 years old, and it's a beautiful thing because when I see them, I see what could have been, but at the end of the day, like, this is what I have now. And Penelope is just my angel baby that I get to honor anything I do. And like, I feel like she speaks to me and she is always with me. But for so long though, I didn't realize that my grief, because I never processed it, held me down a lot. And once I understood that, oh shoot, I just made everybody feel better, and I couldn't be honest with myself saying like, I am sad. I'm very lost right now. Like, I wanted this baby and I dreamt of this baby. And then I had the guilt feeling of not having like a memorial for her, or like going to the big memorial that they had. And then also the guilt of like when the doctor asked if I wanted to hold her when I was getting ready to give birth, and I said no. That lingered with me. And but when she was born, I did hold her. And it also made me think of who was in the room with us, you know? And I remember calling my mom, and my mom, of course, was like, what'd you do to lose a baby? And her tone and just everything just triggered me. And I got so upset that I hung up on her, told her not to come to the hospital. And then next thing you know, I see my dad show up without my mom. My mom doesn't drive. And my dad doesn't talk much. So he just always showed up. Even though he didn't know what to say, he showed up. And that meant the world to me, because that stays with me. Even though he's not here and Penelope's not here, I know that they're together. And that, I knew I was going to need this.
I knew you was going to need that too.
Yeah. I knew that in that moment that my dad felt something that I couldn't feel. And my mom ended up showing up, and she, you know, again, when I was mad at her then, I look back now with this perspective and this much more wisdom. I think my mom she reacts because she also has a lot of healing things that she has to work through. And her background is that she lost 3 sons.
Yeah.
And all of this reflecting for me led me to ask my mom all these deep questions that I want to put in another episode about my mom. But she's been my guiding light in this healing journey. She's been my best friend. Because even in 2008, when I thought she was just being the rudest mom ever, looking back now, I feel bad for her. I feel bad that she had a lot of pain that she hadn't been able to process. And so then you start to see the cycle. But what I also see now is the beauty in how she's raised us, and multiple children. And the more questions I ask of her, the more stories that come out of the woodwork. And it's been so beautiful for me to collect them. And it allowed me to actually understand my dad, because when he was here, he didn't talk much. He never talked about anything. And so being able to walk this journey of this one simple question you asked me, well, not simple, complex, led me back to my parents. And I'm very grateful for that moment, because it has allowed me to just understand and process everything that I kind of just tucked away. And I feel very freeing of all the things that held me down, because I didn't know what was holding me down. I just thought something was wrong with me. And being here in Cabo again, I've cried multiple times now. We've only been here less than, almost 48 hours.
Yeah.
But it's because I just feel this, I can feel for the first time in a place that was supposed to feel like this back in 2008 for me. It didn't. And so I think being back here in 2025, my outlook looks different. And I'm very grateful for you to really hold on when you could have easily left, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't have, I'm thankful that you're grateful for that. But I think a lot of that is just, again, me. I needed you to be this person for yourself, because when you become that person, I knew that when you become this person for yourself, there's going to be 2 things. And these are questions, obviously, as a man, you have to, in any situation, you have to ask yourself, if I ask this question or I force change on somebody, what if that change causes them to do something else that's completely opposite than what you're expecting? So when I'm asking this question, what would you do without me? I know that question is going to force change in you. It's going to make you change in a way that potentially, as a man, would know that you're no longer going to be dependent on me. So like when you don't have dependent upon somebody, you don't need them for anything. Meaning that you don't need them for money, you don't need them for emotional, you don't need them. Whatever the need is that you were dependent on that person is, will no longer be there. So then as your husband, I knew that when I forced this, when I asked this question, when you change, because I knew the change would come, you have to not deny that change is going to come. That change is going to make that person not love you, because they've changed and they no longer are dependent on you, and they no longer love you in the way that they needed that love for. We've discussed this many times in regards to dependency.
Yeah.
So as a husband and as a man, I'm like, I'm okay with that. I knew that also at that time, like, hey, if she grows and she becomes a better person, that's more important. That's more important to me, because if she loves and grows and she still chooses to be with me, my life will be that much more great. Right?
Yes, and it has been.
And if she doesn't change and grow, then guess what? Her life is going to be great and I'm going to be good still. So and that's kind of what it came down to. I knew that at that point, I was comfortable enough to be like, hey, shit or get off the pot.
He always says that. What is it again? Shit or get off the pot?
Shit or get off the pot.
I don't understand
The pot is the toilet.
Then say the toilet.
That doesn't
Shit
sound
and
as
get
good.
off the toilet.
Okay, shit or get off the toilet.
Like
Same
when you
thing.
say shit up and get off the pot, then I'm visualizing this aluminum pot on a stove. Not see that's you guys. The English stuff does not make sense all the time.
All right, but yeah, so I mean that was kind of the main. I think the main reason was, you know, I needed to see some change in our relationship. I needed to see some change in you.
Was it perfect?
I mean.
I mean, I have to admit though, I was a little kid coming into the relationship.
Yeah.
I was very sheltered, and I never really had like real long-term relationship besides one that was a year and a half. And when you're a year and a half at 19 or 18, it's nothing. It's friendship, you know. And so I think for Sully, we've been together for 21, almost 22 years now.
Yeah.
You've gotten a lot of different versions of me, like a lot, because I did absolutely no growing when I was younger. Because again, there's moments in my life where I was kind of stuck, and I didn't know how to grow.
Well, I don't think you had the role models. You know, a lot of things that you guys grew up on was kind of superficial, and you know, I think that takes me back to a lot of things. I didn't grow up with a lot of superficial stuff. I really didn't care.
Yeah.
Everything was kind of real life to me, right? Like I knew there's certain goals in my life that I needed to accomplish and what I wanted. I had real ideas in my head, things that were obtainable, things that you know, I wanted to be and do. And it started at a very young age, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm lucky enough that I had the question that was, you know, that was given to me that allowed me to transcend at a time that, you know, that I was younger, you know, and I had a lot of events that happened in my life that allowed me to grow and change that. You know, in most cases, most people don't learn until later in their life. So again, these are all, if you can recall and look back and reflect in your life and find the moments where you're like, oh, that's why I changed. This is what made me who I am. And this is why I continue to do the things that I'm doing that's going to allow me to get to a life where I want to be, right? Ultimately, I think that everybody is capable of creating the life that they truly want. So,
yeah, for sure. And I used to think that Sully was this Superman, like this. I felt like he was a magician, and because anytime we were in a pickle, you're gone. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I was saying
I'm a magician.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I really thought that he had this, like, I don't know, superpower that not everybody had. And so I just started like asking him questions. Well, Sully was a wrestler in high school, so then I would start asking him like, okay, so how did you become so disciplined in that? Especially like now that I know what it takes to be like a sport parent, at least I think what it takes to be a sport parent. His story made me rethink that, actually, because now we have kids and sometimes we do too much for them. And I start realizing that's the life that I came from, where my family did so much for me that I didn't know how to do things for myself. And so being a wrestler, Sully, there was a question I asked you. I said, because it was in the winter and and it's during the holidays, how did you stay disciplined during that time in wrestling?
Oh man, I mean, being disciplined is you can't look at what you're doing in that moment. Being disciplined requires you to look at what is the outcome going to be. Because if you think about it, that's just that moment, right? That, for example, if you're on a run, or you're cutting weight, or you're doing something, and all you're thinking about is cutting weight, or on a run, or not eating food, or things like that, it's not going to allow you to get to your goal, because you're stopping your vision right there in that moment. But when you are on a run, so for example, what I would do is, because a lot of my running came from late night runs. I would be out it's November, December, it'd be cold. And I would pile on all my clothes, all my sweats and stuff like that. And I'd get on my boots at that, so your feet don't get wet. And I would run. And each time I would tell myself, every time that it crept in my mind that, I just want to quit, right? Like, I just want to quit right here.
Did you get that often?
Oh yeah. Whoever says you want to quit. If you never said you don't want to quit, then you're just not going hard enough, right? It's just the truth. Or you've never seen that moment. So every time that would creep in my mind, I'd say, okay, one more tree, one more block. That block's right there. One more, one more, one more. And then it led to like, okay, if it's so cold outside, I'm gonna run as far as I can, and I gotta get back home or else I'm gonna die. Like literally, I would literally tell myself that. It's like, okay. And you start to get the hang of it. Obviously, the more you do it, you start to realize that, okay, I'm not gonna die. I know how far I can run. I know all these things because you've been there. You keep pushing yourself. Yep. But at first, yes, everybody gets. I mean, I ask that question still often. Is like, okay, how far can I push myself? Am I giving it my best today? Are these things gonna allow me to get to the vision that I really want, right? And that's kind of how I look at it. I just think that sometimes it could be lonely. Sometimes you are doing these things by yourself. Yes, during wrestling season, when my friends were enjoying the basketball game on a Friday night, I'd be out running. And yes, did that suck? Absolutely. Did I think about what my friends were doing in that moment at night? Yes, I would. But then I also thought about my hand being raised. I also thought about, the feeling that you get when you're able to walk out there and know that everything that you did leading up to that very moment is what caused that, what caused my hand being raised, what caused me to be a champion, what caused me, that all led up to that. And then when I thought of those moments, so thinking of my best moments and my worst moments allowed me to continue on with the journey and just never stop, right?
I love that. It's beautiful. And I think like when you told me that, I didn't understand it because I've asked you wrestling questions for a long time and I never really understood wrestling, to be honest with you, until our children, especially Sullivan, our oldest, it started wrestling. He happened to be in high school wrestling around the same time I went on this journey of mine. And what's so wild and crazy is when I didn't know what Sully was talking about asking me what would I do without him, I started walking before the sun came up and it was dark. And I would then I started adding challenges. So 2023, it was kind of like just getting my feet wet a little bit. And then in 2024, I was like, you know what? I'm already doing these things. And I did the 75 hard challenge. I've tried it before, but I failed like the first day. And I didn't realize that I failed the first day because I let one little small thing, I tried to give my excuse of like, it's just a photo. It's so small, right? So now that I look back, I'm like, I failed it from the first day because that small little thing was one of the requirements, and yet I dismissed it. So then I thought in 2024, I was like, it was January 1st, and I was like, I think I'm ready to do 75 hard. I'm reading books. I'm already being outside, and I'll just add another workout in. I can change my food, like food diet. And so I did that. And then I was like, wait a second. Oh my God, it's going to be cold. It's going to be winter. I was like, wait, but if Sully did it, I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's exactly what I went through. And I remember like there was one day it was like negative something. And I was like, oh shit, let me get on Facebook. So I like asked like, what are some suggestions? And then people were like, well, it's not recommended that you go outside. And I was like, gosh, yeah, you're right. But then I was like, you know what? I won't know until I try.
That's right.
So that's exactly what I did. And so when I go into my next episode, I'm going to talk a little bit more about my journey through the challenges I took on and what I discovered. And so there are many things I discovered, and I am so grateful for this boo of mine to really question me, because I am a better person for myself in our partnership, in motherhood, just in my family alone. There has been many things that has come our way this year alone. And I truly believe that everything I worked on in 2023, 2024 led me to today, where we've lost your dad this year, lost my brother-in-law. My nephew-in-law right now is in the hospital. And clients that lost their spouses. There's so many things, and it all leads to what would you do without me? I was able to really keep calm the old me would have panicked. The old me would have put my fear onto them as well, which then like amplifies what's happening. The new me is so much more calm and understanding of life and death, and understanding of what it means to live while we're alive. And I believe that if we stop and pause and think about the people in our lives, what we're doing, like the purpose that we are living, if we really stop and think about that, there's no fear. It's this beautiful journey of becoming your greatest self. And while doing so, being able to pass it along to someone, just like how Sully did to me. He didn't want to give me the answer. He wanted to make sure that he asked me the questions to make me rethink about my capabilities and the possibilities. And I think like for me too, that's what I've been doing. I don't know how many people I've helped along the way that I'm not a coach, but somehow I have become one. And same thing with you. We're not this legal coach, but somehow we have become that person for other people. And we're very honored to be here and to be together as a team, so we can lean on each other back and forth. And now when he talks, I can actually understand him. Before I was just like, Superman, I'm married to Superman. I'm so lucky, I'm so blessed.
Far from Superman.
Yes, it's this mental shift that you have to practice every single day.
Yeah, it's definitely done out of love. I think that the purest of love is that, you know, you give back to people the what you know, what you've lived and how you've lived it, and all you can do is provide the same information and process it the same way and provide it in a way that, you know, obviously some people can understand, some people can't. And in time, your message gets across just like everybody else's message. Nothing's new, guys. Like
it's the same.
Nothing's new. Like it literally is the same thing over years and years and years. How you live your life, how you're going to show people. What I teach or what I coach to our kids is how I live my life. I don't do anything different outside of how I live my life. And I think that's the best way to coach and teach, is that you live the life that you're preaching. So
agreed, 100%. So thank you so much for coming on today.
You're welcome.
On your vacation. And we will be back. I will bring Sully back. I'm pretty sure he's such great information. And I can't wait to share what I've learned on 75 Hard and the 12-hour walk. And the 12-hour walk was actually suggested by Sully.
Which was suggested by another buddy of mine on Facebook. He saw that I was looking for some book suggestions, and he's like, have you read the 12-hour walk? And so when I read that, it just kind of brought me back to wrestling, to some of the things that I thought about. And literally, it all comes down to gratitude. And I guess that's a whole different subject. Episode. But I mean, at the end of the day, I've been practicing gratitude since I was a kid. And I think that in the long term, that's what's allowed me to live the life that I live right now. So, but yeah, Thanks for having me.
Yes, so thank you so much. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye.